Part 1. The Lower Valley Floor. If you are starting in the town of Winthrop, it is not hard to find the footbridge that arcs across the Methow River on the south end of town. The bridge takes you right to the trailhead of the Methow Community Trail, the MCT, where your day's workout will begin. You'll find ample parking by the trailhead, and there is a practice loop that you can warm up on, or work on your technique before you venture out on the main trail to the northwest.
The very best place is likely the community trail. It's a green run just about through and through from Winthrop to Mazama. It's also a beautiful tour. It's 18 miles from the town of Winthrop up to Mazama. And yeah, you see varied terrain throughout the whole sections of the community trail, from really nice meandering trail next to the river, through wooded areas, through little community developments, over a suspension bridge, a 300-foot spanning the Methow River, and artwork along the way as well in different sections. And then, the best part on either end is that there's a scone or a cup of coffee waiting for you, or a glass of beer or wine at the other end. So, yeah, that for beginners is likely, whether you're starting in Winthrop or Mazama, is going to be your best bet to get a feel for the valley, get a feel for the trail system, and not knock yourself out the first day.
Start at the Winthrop trailhead, and you'll be heading northwest along the Methow River on a raised and evenly graded trail along a band of trees that hugs the river's edge. This first section of the MCT skirts the local fishery and runs right along the south side of the Methow River. It is very likely you will see bald eagles in the trees high above you, keeping a close eye on the river, which is their food source in the winter months. The MCT and the Winthrop Trail. After the first kilometer, you'll run into the first junction on the trail and open farm fields. To the left, or south, you can head to the Barnsley and Bitterbrush loops on the Winthrop Trail that works its way up to Sun Mountain. These loop trails are less than 2 kilometers each, but add some elevation and some descents to your route, along with the extra distance you may want if your plan is to spend your day on the valley floor and avoid the climb up to Sun Mountain. Cruise the flats to the southeast, across Wolf Creek Road, and then begin a short climb on the Winthrop Trail that takes you to the first intersection, the Bitterbrush Loop. The Bitterbrush Loop climbs to the top of the knoll to your east and then back to the junction. Going a little further on the Winthrop Trail takes you to the next loop, the Barnsley Lake Loop. This 2-kilometer jaunt takes you on a bit of a ride, with a fast, short, steep drop, then the requisite short, steep climb out of the basin you dropped into. Now back on the Winthrop Trail, follow the trail west to begin the trek towards Sun Mountain. Right after you cross Wolf Creek Road again, you enter a beautiful forest as you climb along the base of Patterson Mountain. After 1.7 kilometers of winding your way up the first part of the climb, you come to a junction, Powers Plunge. This turnoff takes you down a black diamond run that heads north down the hill with some seriously fun turns to the valley floor in the MCT. If you are planning a day that is close to 10 kilometers in length, this Winthrop Trail Powers Plunge MCT circuit is about 12 kilometers, with a good portion of it being flat so you can make good time. Continuing up the Winthrop Trail, if your plan is to go to Patterson Lake, the rest of the climb up to the lake and along Patterson Mountain is going to test you a bit. After 2.7 kilometers and 400 feet of climbing, you will reach Patterson Lake. From the lake, you will use the cabin trail to make your way up another 300-foot climb to the Chickadee Trailhead and parking area. For a long day, you can turn back around and retrace your steps to Winthrop, which is a fast run since most of your distance back is downhill. Winthrop to Brown's Farm. At the first junction on the MCT leaving Winthrop, stay on the MCT and head west and then north to Wolf Ridge Resort. First, you will cross the Wolf Creek Road, pass through a few homes along the trail, then you will have a long stretch of 3.5 kilometers of open farm field skiing. You will cross Wolf Creek Road again in another 4 kilometers. After the road crossing, you'll have another 3 kilometers to Wolf Ridge. You'll be skiing through a neighborhood that is adjacent to the resort with a wide variety of homes and designs. Once at the resort, you will find a small warming hut that is there for you to use. The resort area marks the beginning of the next section of the trail, climbing to the high point of the MCT as it runs parallel to the Methow River, halfway between Winthrop and Mazama. If you are planning on skiing about 20 kilometers for the day, turn around at Wolf Ridge to make your way back to Winthrop for a 22-kilometer round trip. Going further extends your day and you'll need stamina for the big climb. Many people will plan a car shuttle at Brown's Farm to allow for a 22-kilometer one-way trip from Winthrop to Brown's Farm. Depending on where you are staying, it may be easier to do this section of the trail from northwest to southeast, from Brown's Farm to Winthrop, and there is a small overall descent going that direction. Heading out of Wolf Creek Resort, you will find yourself in a heavily wooded section of the trail that follows the Methow River and begins a steady climb of 350 feet over the first 3.5 kilometers. The forest becomes less dense, and the openness is welcoming as you reach the high point at 2,120 feet. After reaching that landmark, you will be traversing with only a small descent at the end of the next segment. Before you exit the woods on your northwesterly journey, you'll come across a side loop called Bob. The Bob Loop is 2 kilometers of more climbing and a rapid turning descent. After leaving the woods and the descent from the ridge, you are on the last stretch of open farm fields that will take you to Brown's Farm. There is a cozy warming hut at Brown's Farm that is a perfect finish to a 22-kilometer ski from Winthrop. The Big Valley Loops. The Big Valley Trailhead is located just off Highway 20, about 6 miles northwest of Winthrop. This loop is one of the few areas where a trail pass is not required, and is a good place to warm up your legs and your lungs if you arrive in the valley midday. This 8-kilometer set of loops allows you to either ski 4.5 or 8 kilometers, depending on if you add the outer loop as part of your ski. This area is open to dogs and snowshoers, so the grooming can get torn up a bit. It is not groomed as often as the rest of the system, but if you catch it right after a grooming run, it is a fast set of loops if you are trying to squeeze in a quick ski. From the parking lot, head east out over the open fields that run down the valley. After 2.2 kilometers, you arrive at the junction between the inner and outer loops. If you proceed to the left outer loop, you will be committing to add the 3.5 kilometers that form that loop. The trail runs along the woods, then turns south, and then west towards the Methow River. The outer loop meanders through the woods, paralleling the river back to the junction at 3.5 kilometers. At the junction, you can now continue back on the south leg of the inner loop, through the mixed forest and open field terrain back to the trailhead. On a sunny day, this loop gives you a taste of the stunning lighting of the valley, as the sun casts its rays through the trees and over the open fields. Even with the heavy use of this trail, it is a great place to spend several hours if you are looking for a shorter day.
The Methow Valley is a remarkable ski destination for a variety of reasons, and you put them all together and that's what you get. But in the beginning, way back in the early 70s when all this started, what was noticed was the quality of the snow and the weather. Since we're on the east side of the North Cascades, that means it's not rainy all winter. It means we get tons of sunshine. It's also cold, and that's really crucial to cross-country skiing. And the second thing, the terrain that we've got here. make it ideal. We've got flats along the valley floor. I just talked about the great variety at Sun Mountain. So beautiful terrain and great winter weather is really what got it all started. Of course, now that it's going with over 200 kilometers of groomed trails, that makes it the largest cross-country ski area in North America. So you've got great weather, great snow, and a fantastic, huge trail system. I mean, who could ask for more? Now, there's one other advantage that a lot of people miss, and that's that we're relatively low in elevation. Winthrop's 1,800 feet, Sun Mountain's a little below 3,000 feet, Mazama's at about 2,000 feet. That means there's tons of oxygen. And if you go to some other cross-country ski areas in the West, you'll be skiing at somewhere between 7,000 and 9,000 feet. And if you're skating uphill, you're gasping for air. So all those things make it great.